Harry Bartle again, another driver who you can't take your eyes off over this weekend. He has shown great skill and performance. The next race coming up, like we're saying, qualifying heat Group A and C. Has Jake Sanson your back?
Oh, I'm absolutely...
You are getting your steps in.
I really am. I'm going to be fit as a fiddle by the end of this season. Harry Bartle and Aston Sharp on the front row of the grid then, from Cathal Clark and Romeo Roussel, Rocco Coronel and Harrison Mackie from Eden Spanswick and Tiziano Cugnini, after the Donka and Freddie Lloyd from Joseph Smith and Toby Gale, Clovis Nougeraid and Sebastian Mins, then Javier Broasca and Isaac Phelps, Raul Martinez and Wouter Bourguignon, Matteo Dauvergne and Alex Martinez from Alexis Constant, and Georges Nassar, Senna Munier, Matt Corby and Michael Malma round out the grid. Now, from this moment on, every race is critical because it is the last one of the day for every driver. So it really is make or break time as far as look after the tyres, push for what you've got. If you feel you've got a competent car underneath you, make use of it, because this is not going to get any easier from here on out. All of the juniors, all of the minis, all of the seniors, this is your last race of the day from now on. You will not get a second chance to make something come of this. Get it done.
Yeah, and at the moment, Carol Clark leading in terms of the points, but will that remain the same? 2 points separate, or 1 point separates itself from Thomas Kinsey, with the 3 points out there, so 1 point separating the two of them. It's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, those two are not in the same race this time around, so it's going to be down to what we see in the next race as well, so we can't clarify who is going to start on pole position for the Superheats tomorrow. As of yet, we have to wait for the next race, which will be the very last junior race of the day before we'll next see them out tomorrow. So again, the pressure now starting to come down on the drivers a little bit now. This is where you really need to start to focus. Maths comes into play. Where do you want to position yourself on the grid? Hopefully you want to be on that inside line, so you want to either be first, third, fifth, seventh, ninth, 11th, anything like that. You don't want to be second, fourth, sixth, eighth or 10th. So it's really going to come down to maths, really. You want to be starting on that inside row. Do you reckon it's possible to do live maths while racing around Zuera?
Well, if you're a racing driver, you probably could, but I suppose they'll have all done their calculations with their mechanics in terms of what you can and can't do and what you can and can't get away with. But it is going to be tricky to know how it's all going to settle out. The juniors are in position. It's sort of there or thereabouts. Are we going to go racing this time? We are. And up to the first corner. Good start from Harry Bartle, swinging through to the inside line. Nicely consolidated by Aston Sharp. Tucks in behind Cathal Clark. So he does not get a poor start at all from the outside line. Tucks it in, gets himself through into third position as they work their way through turn 2. Everybody's kept it on the black stuff. Up towards the braking zone for turn 4. Bartle holds it to the inside line. Chopping across is Clark and Sharp. Everybody kicking up dust a little bit in the tail end, but it looks as though everybody's still on the right part of the race circuit. And Clark having a little bit of a shifty there on Harry Bartle. Had to go for it, but decides better of it. And Aston Sharp just chasing after them in third position. This is going to get pretty tricky from here on out. Drivers hustling away in the middle, one of the victory lanes, getting hung out to dry there, trying to make up some ground. I think that was Clovis Nougeraid, and running wide. 1, 2, 3 carts going off the road there. And I'm afraid that very much is curtains for one of the greens. I think that is 69 going off the road. No, it's Wouter Bourguignon, the Dutchman. So Wouter Bourguignon unfortunately goes right off the road, and you saw a huge rock get dissipated under his wheel. He's very lucky that didn't tear through the engine.
Yes, because that runoff area is not the nicest to drive over, I have to say. I suspect anyone who has done it has knackered the chassis just somewhat. End of the first lap then, Bartle leads, only just though, as the rest of the grid scrapping just further behind as Roussel gets run off the road a little bit there.
Yeah, a bit of a tank slapper, I think, from, now who was that ran wide? I think that was Cugnini actually getting a little bit loose.
Oh, well, Cugnini there coming back onto the track. Oh.
Very close, isn't it? I mean,
closer than you'd like.
That was the limit of adhesion with Roussel and Coronel, so he's got to be very careful about how he goes about it next. But it was all coming back to when he lost out to Harrison Mackie, who managed to get the move up the inside into 2. Coronel having another look as they dive up to the hairpin, and that's a move forward from Eden Spanswick, who has kind of been under the radar for the first 2 races, but Spanswick really starting to sit up and go for it now as he makes the move first on Lloyd and then on Roussel. Great racing from Eden Spanswick. That's a really responsive move to come out of one move to line up another and just have full commitment, 100%.
Yeah, that was very, very nice there. So good to see that it's not dawned off them as the days progressed. This is starting to get interesting, though. Cal Clark is latching onto the back now of Harry Bartle. Crucially, do they work together or do they race? It's one of the questions. You know, you can look after the tyres or you can use your tyres. It's down to you, really. But Cal Clark, at the moment, in this position, is now second in the points standing. So I suspect Cal Clark is going to go for the overtake and has done that overtake and has managed to get it done and gets back past Bartle. So Bartle now down into P2. Sharp still there in third, though. Kind of a bit of a no man's land at the moment. Is some second clear from the group behind, which is what you're watching here, which is being led by Harrison Mackie, Coronel, Pizzini, and Lloyd leading that group. But at the moment, it seemed pretty tame, I would say.
Yeah, they've kept it as neat and tidy as they possibly can at this early stage of the heat. And there's still plenty more to come from it. Clark is now back in the lead, which is exactly where he needs to be, of course, having taken that back from Bartle. And that's going to put him back on the top of the rankings. He had fallen behind Thomas Kinsey on aggregate, but now if he stays in front of Harry Bartle, then that is going to be enough to give him the lead of the rankings. And that's going to be the overall lead, because then, of course, Thomas Kinsey cannot overhaul him. If Clark wins this race, then he gets the lead of the standings going into tomorrow, whatever happens. So it's very important for Cal Clark to pick up his second victory of the day here in front of Harry Bartle. Sharp in third, Mackie in fourth. It's a British 1, 2, 3, 4, and very nearly 5 if Freddie Lloyd can get past Rocco Coronel.
We'll find out as the race progresses.
Oh, Kuznini.
Oh, dear.
That's a 5-second penalty that goes with the warning flag. That is not what Tizzy Kuznini needs at this stage of the meeting.
No, that is suboptimal. I wouldn't recommend that one throughout, so that's going to be a disaster for him. He's not going to enjoy that at all, is he?
That's going to drop him all the way to 16th currently. So that really does throw a bit of a spanner into the works for him. That's going to drop him way outside the top 10 in the overall rankings as well.
I think that's the only downside to the races now being so close and full of drivers, is that if you get a warning flag, you don't go down 3 positions, you go down to 16 or so.
But this is the important reason why we've got the warning flag penalty in IAME Euro Series. It's not something that's done in most championships. It's not something that's done in the World Championship or the European Championship, but it is supposed to promote good driving standards. And I have to say, since the inclusion of the 5-second penalty with the warning flags, the driving standards have gone up. There's no loading quite the same way that there used to be, which has also helped because of the front fairing penalties, of course.
Yeah,
but it is, in terms of the driving standards, the caliber and the cleanliness and the respect of the racing has definitely gone up since that rule was introduced. So while I don't like the penalty, I like the incentive, and the punishment doesn't necessarily fit the crime, but it does promote good racing.
I also think the benefit of having 50 CCTV cameras around the circuit monitoring all the racing and all the overtakes also helps prevent.
Well, that's the thing, you know, that's why we've got David and Joanna up in race control doing their thing and doing a fantastic job with it. Now, here is the gaggle further back. This is Rocco Coronel trying to get one over on Harrison Mackie and try and break up the British quartet up front. Rocco Coronel very much keeping it in the family of motor racing. Tom and Tim have been Tin Top and GT Kings for so many years now. I can remember watching Tom Coronel when I was the same age as Rocco. So they're battling away, chucking their way through. This is Harry Bartle trying to get his move on the inside of Cathal Clark. Can't quite dive into the inside of turn 4. It's a bit early in the lap to be thinking about doing that as well, especially with Cathal Clark being quite prominent in the right part of the braking zone. This is what Clark is really good at. Watch his positioning by comparison to Bartle. He doesn't overly come off the line to defend. He just pulls the kart maybe a couple of centimetres over compared to what you would normally expect of the racing line. And that's all it really needs to be. You don't need to keep the kart parked in the middle of the road. You just need to keep it slightly over so that the driver knows if you go for this, there's a good chance you could clip my rear quarter, and then we're both up in smoke. As George Nassar picks up a warning flag and the 5 seconds that comes with it, which is a bit of disappointment for him because he's already down at the back. So George Nassar has had so much potential. He's been top 10 in terms of raw speed. He's just not been able to maximise it.
No, exactly. That has been a shame. Still eyes on this battle as we go on to the final lap then. Bartle looks to the inside and takes the lead of this race, but instantly Clark fights back, but Bartle holds on to it. Sharp now going to the outside of turn 4, switches back, looks to see if he can get 2 for 1. gets 1 for 1 and could go for 2 for 1 if he can get it down to the braking zone here. No, stays on the outside line and gets the long way round the sweeping turns 5 and 6 and gets second place.
That was masterfully brave from Aston Sharp. He really had to commit to that because he knew that he was going to be in a pincer movement between the two men. If he didn't, they've gone out a little bit wide, and Clark's gone out a little bit wide. Mackey is going to get up to 3rd position. The two leaders were very lucky there. Unfortunately for Cathal Clark, he wasn't quite in the white part of the racetrack to take advantage of Bartel and Sharp drifting loose, and as a result Clark is going to drop down to about 4th position. That's a real problem as now Mackey gets up the inside of Sharp. Brilliant final lap for Harrison Mackey. It'll be 2nd rather than the win, but Harry Bartel takes the victory in the final race of the day. Cathal Clark has to settle for P4. That is not where he needed to be at all, and he now drops to the same points as Manyas and Mackey. So Cathal Clark is now looking very unlikely indeed to take the win in the overall rankings unless Kinsey, Perez and Manyas have a terrible final race.
That's going to have to be the question, and so far in this one, Bartel, brilliant piece of racing, but you got hats off to Mackey in that one, because what a final charge on that last lap. Just came through the field, just out of nowhere, really. We didn't really see him coming. We knew he was there, but then the gap really disappeared when they started scrapping on that last lap, and that is why you need such a significant gap in karting to be able to battle like that. Even if it's just for 1 lap, you can close a 2-second gap in half a lap. It's really one of those things about karting that we love. When it comes to the end of the race, it can get so exciting, and we always look forward to that one. Drivers then make their way back into the pit lane. Jake Sanson makes his way down to Parc Fermé, and the results come up on the screen. It's a UK 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Bartel, Mackey, Sharp, Clark, Lloyd from Coronel and Spanswick, who round out the top 7. Romeo Rossell and Joseph Smith, Zuera Gunzini and Isaac Phelps round out the top 11. Clovis Nugareddy round out top 12. From Toby Gale, Anthony Donker and Sienna Muna round out the top 15 for the Spirit Racing team, some 5.6 seconds further down the road. From Sebastian Mins